your people are telling me that put some respect on that name.
Ah, I respect my people, and my people
Yes,
respect me.
Okay, so how do I address you now? They said put some respect on that name. So I want to know how to address you.
You have to do a poll on how to address me from my people.
Okay, it's Kenny that is asking me to put some respect on your name. So I'm asking you, like, how do I? Okay, my presido. Yes, my presido. I can see some of them saying my
Whatever
presido.
they tell you, whatever the majority tell you is what we accept. So that's good.
Yeah.
But let me say good evening to all of them. I appreciate our people. We love them, and we respect their tenacity. These are people who saw tomorrow. When I say tomorrow, they knew that Nigeria needed to go in a different direction as of 2018, and they followed, supported, while the rest of the country, celebrities, politicians, professional bodies, journalists, were dilly-dallying on whether one person was better than the other. They were very clear on which direction they wanted to go, and they supported me, and I respect them, and they've been with me, stood with me. Even when I was in detention, these people never gave up hope, and I just have to salute them all the time. But it's good to be on your show, and also I should be the one introducing you tonight, but I'll let you take it over from here.
Okay, please do. You have to, so that they know that you're my
that
buddy
you
for
are
life.
legit. Yeah, no.
Huh?
You do your show next time when I invite you on my show. I also do a show known as The Couch.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah, so. But it's your show tonight, and
yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Azuka Ogujiuba. I'm a journalist, and right now I am running an online platform called Media Room Hub. It's also a news portal, and I just felt that because I've known Sowore for forever, Presido forever, and there's something I never asked him all this while we were in school at the University of Lagos, because I actually saw him the day the thing happened after my lecture. He just said hi, hello, because Sowore is always around on campus, going to different, checking up on everybody. People run to him when you have issues on campus. You run to Sowore. Sowore abandons whatever he's doing. He's running to your aid. So that's the memory I have of Sowore when we're in school. And he's somebody that it's very destabilized. I can say that anywhere in this world is very, very destabilized. He doesn't care whether you're Hausa, Igbo, or Yoruba. Once you need him, then on campus, he comes to your aid. So my first meeting with him on campus was one of the time we were doing our exams. Of course, next place to go to is the library. So I noticed that I always see Sowore. He's always reading, doesn't talk to anybody, he minds his business, But me, I can be very curious, So, but whenever I go to the library, the seat opposite Sowore is kind of free, so I sit down there. And so one of these days, I had a health issue. And I passed out in the library. And as a jambite, I didn't register. You have to do all your registration on campus, your hospital registration, everything. I didn't do mine because I went there like twice. The queue was long, so I never went back. And I passed out. They didn't want to admit me in the hospital, but Sowore came to my aid. He put his feet on the ground and look, I'll take care of this. Attend to her. So now I was admitted I was taken to the hospital because of Sowore put his feet on the ground, and then later, when I woke up, I saw someone sitting by my bedside, and he was reading the newspapers. So I thought it was the doctor. I just said, hello, and before I knew it, he was already calling the nurse that she's awake. Nurses, they came. Well, that memory is what I have of Sowore, and I find it difficult to even think anything otherwise about him, really, because he saved my life. That's the honest truth. Because if he didn't put his foot on the ground, I probably would have been dead or something, or maybe they wouldn't admit me. So something happened to you on campus then. After that we became friends. We see at the arts blog, and we say hello and hi, and that's it. Then sometimes you ask me about my studies, school. In short, you were like a father to everybody on campus. We all run to you when there's a problem on ground. So I would like to find out from you that last time I saw you at New Hall, that evening at the New Hall, I just said hello and I saw you and you guys walking away. So I was talking with my friends at the bus stop by the New Hall. We just started hearing gunshots, and what actually happened that day that the cult boys attacked you?
Well, this is probably a piece of my life history that most people didn't know. That first, I knew you when you collapsed and took you to the clinic. The university clinic wasn't the best in those days, and we had to force them to attend to people. They didn't even have like Panadol. But during our time, we forced them to make sure they procure these things because they're all budgeted for. It's the University of Lagos is supposed to be one of the best. I said Deji, by the way, Deji Adeyanju there, and Kemi Olun lawyer, my controversial friends. But whenever we go to the university medical center, you never find anything. And they have great doctors in those, because some of them came from LUT, the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. And your situation enabled us to force them to treat anybody who's sick the way they should have. And they were surprised that I was still in your room beside you after how they thought I had left, which would have made them to abandon you. So that's how we became friends. But let's go to the discussion about 1994, when I was attacked by the cop gangs on campus. It's important to let people know, younger people, that apart from fighting in the military, we were fighting these gangs because most of the cop gang members in those days, the secret corps as you call it, were children of military officers. And we took it upon ourselves to fight their father in power and fight their children on campus. You remember in those days also that, in Bizadmin, New Hall, and they also converge at the place outside the campus where they sell chicken and chips. In those days, chicken and chips used to be like gold.
Yeah, chicken and chips.
If anybody took you out to eat chicken and chips that you didn't like, it was like you just be made to go and discover gold. So there's a place outside the campus.
And the suya spot. And the suya spot too, by
the suya spot. I have an experience with the suya spot that I'll discuss maybe later. How one girl, made me buy suya. Went back to Moremi Hall, and I went back after her because I don't play. And then found out that she was using my suya to chop gari. And then she used her book to cover the gari. Gari is a bastard. The thing just kept flowing until the book had to be sweating. Anyway, that's the story for another day. But I was attacked by this cop gang, but I wasn't attacked by cop gangs as such. That's what people didn't know. I was attacked by government hiding behind courts and the university authorities. In fact, the guy who led the attack on me on that day was a police officer. He was an active police officer. He was in the estate management department, who we knew on campus. We call him Yellow Man. Everybody knew him on campus. He was in the Mopo then. He was the one who led the attack. And when I was attacked, I was injected when I entered an Ninjoku because, I thought there was a rally.
Sorry to cut you. I think you were injected. Yeah. Was it with lead? What was it?
Well, that was the information we had after, because after I was attacked, they did not even allow me to do treatment on campus. They came to loot to try to abduct me, and I had to escape from loot. So
I remember,
I was attacked. I had injuries all over me. I had stitches on my head. They stabbed me on my head. It was terrible. And those who were doing lag in those days knew, but I was rescued by the students. Massive amount of resistance that night. After I was hospitalized, the students came back and fought against the authorities who they knew were involved, including some of the court members. Some of them today, interestingly, we have become friends. Because and then
now your friend, I was going to ask you that if I met some of them. If you've met some of them after the whole incident.
Probably met some of them. If you're in high society, reporting, and you would know some of these guys. I've met some of them. I met some of them even in the U.S. One of them left that night after I was attacked. He went to Saudi Arabia. His father took him out, and then he ended up in the U.S.
I know the person. I know who.
Yeah.
I know the person.
Yes. So
let's not call their names.
And he told me the full story. Some of them are around today. Yeah. And he told me the full story of what happened, how the school authority gathered them together, got the commissioner of police then in Lagos was Dan Baba, who is now late, I heard. He was the one who also killed, he was the one who gave the guns to people who killed Kudirat and also provided the cover for people who shot Ibru. So I was their first target because the University of Lagos Student Union in 1993-94 was the most vibrant in Nigeria. Even more vibrant than NANS itself, because don't forget Segun Mayegun was at Unilag, and when he was no longer NANS president, and the NANS president that was elected, Nasiru Kura, was at BUK in Kano, and Kano wasn't tolerant of the pro-democracy movement as such. So all of them had to be coming to Unilag as a place, as a staging ground to fight the government. So but to go back to my situation, after they injected me, one of the guys who was with us inside an injured cohort turned out to be my classmate. He was wearing the face cap. And as he turned to go away, his face cap fell off. And I shouted his name. I said, wow, you're part of these people. And he was the one who said, Sowore knows me, and he took me out of an Njoku in darkness. And when he took me out, I was beaten, stripped naked, and he took me to the Freedom Square. And they were saying all kinds of, at that point, I wasn't even like so coherent, but I kept shouting to the students, like, if you're there, this might be my last time, please come out and fight for your freedom. And as we were there, about 2,000 students were coming from Ekanemi and Erika Hall, the gate area. Another set of students were coming from Jaja. They are going to mobilize the they have attacked Sowore, and for them, this is an opportunity to fight the court gang. So when the court gang saw the students coming en masse, they ran away because they had brought me there at gunpoint, which you remember. They were shooting into the air, and so they ran and left me there. With one of them left with me, and he kept begging, please, I'm just here to protect you. Don't let them kill me. Because at that point, the students had overwhelmed the court guys. And so the students arrived, and about 2000, they said, sure, jump. Because they didn't know who I was with. The guys who were with me were like armed. And I jumped down and broke my leg and back. I hurt my back. And they took me to the health center, first to Jaja. But before we got to Jaja, when we got to the computer center, which is to the right, the group that were coming from Jaja and Mariri started attacking the group that were bringing me to the health center because they thought the group that was bringing me were the court guys. So for about 5 minutes, they were just raining of bottles over my head, broken bottles, stones, between two students who were loyal to me, but didn't know who they were because it was at that point dark. So I had to shout that no, this is loyal troops, as if we're in a counter coup. And then they took me to the health center. We got to the health center, all the doctors had disappeared completely.
Wow.
The only person left at the health center was the ambulance driver, and he was hiding under where he saw students. You know how students are. He was hiding under the table. They brought him and he said, why are you here? He said, the school authorities told me that there will be dead bodies today just to take them to loot. They thought I would be killed. So we just then went to loot. And as we were going to loot, all the students followed me to loot. and they lined on the right and left side of Lutz. And I got to the emergency center and collapsed, and I was wheeled into the place. I didn't know what happened after that. My head was stitched together, and the next time I woke up was in the female ward at Lutz, because the court members were looking for me at Lutz, policemen were looking for me at Lutz. Well, that's just an abbreviated version of the story, but anybody who was at Unilag in 1994 knew this story very well. And when I left Lutz, was 5 days when the police said they must arrest me, and they declared me wanted. And the Lutz authorities said, we are not going to give Sowore to you, because the students, when they resume, they will come after us. So, but Malcolm, Fabi, and the rest of the student leaders who came to visit me at Lutz, on their way back to Unilag, were arrested by the police. They waylaid them, arrested about 27 of them, and tortured them, beat them up, roughened them up, and then charged them for armed robbery. Armed robbery of what? Robbing the court members who attacked me. It was crazy. It was one of the craziest moments in my life. In 1994, I was 23 years old.
That time, that period, the gunshots, the school was in chaos, everybody was running for their lives. That day happened that they attacked you. Me and my friends, we ran into the bush because the gunshots was so, we thought there was even war, because we didn't know where to run to. And the next thing we heard was that they've killed you, that you were dead, so
yeah,
everybody was just like...
So they started spreading the rumor that I was dead because they were planning to abduct me.
Yes, they said you were dead, yeah.
And kill me. Yeah, so even my father came from our village to come and retrieve my dead body. They told him, oh, yeah, your son is dead, but we can't give him to you because he's a criminal. He has to be buried in a prison yard. So my dad went to my auntie's house in Festac, hoping that maybe my body will be released to him. And one guy, I don't know if he's still alive, he was chief security officer of Lutz. His name is Lawal. He lived in the US, was a chief security officer. Provided me with a phone. I called my auntie's house in Festac, told them, can you have somebody come get me from here? I need to get out of here. And my sister's husband came in the car, and I was dressed, and I left Lutz that night. But what is interesting was that to even leave the female ward to his house, I had to be dressed like a dead body and taken out.
Wow.
Yes, and I saw the policemen through the white coats all waiting there for me. It was it's something that movies are made of. Anybody who was around that time at least knew of this story very well. They knew the story was well covered in the media about my situation at Unilag.
Yeah. So that means we were able to forgive the guys involved. So some of them, I know you must have, like you said, you must have met them. Did you guys sit down?
The reason I didn't pay attention to the guys was that eventually, I was expelled after the case. They expelled us, and then in the process of expulsion, we came upon documents showing that it was the government that arranged the attack, and the guys were just pawns in the hands of a major attempt to decimate the student union at that time, which was mostly linked to our fight for democracy. So in those days, and by extension, now.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know you're a lot of people don't know you're a very shy person. You're very, very shy.
I'm shy, and I'm going to confess. I'm going to confess today on this show that the reason why you and I never dated was because I was shy.
So why didn't you ask me out then?
I was just too shy, and I was worried that the government could use a female on me, to get me. Anyways, I was more focused on the struggle. The struggle was my girlfriend, so
yeah,
you would have been miserable if we dated. You wouldn't have seen me. You wouldn't have had time for you. So, but I'm just saying so that I can talk about the soft side of me, and you can testify testify to that, right? So, because after you recovered,
Yes.
we were always looking for each other, right?
Yes,
So, yes.
There's no time. Okay, there's one time that you bought me suya. Have you forgotten? One time that you bought me
No, I
suya.
didn't. I didn't buy it. I couldn't afford suya. The only one girl scammed me of suya, and I followed her back to her room. She took the suya from me after I bought it. I was hoping that we were going to hang out somewhere, eat the suya together. After I bought suya, she just disappeared to her room. But the detective in me was restless. I went back. I knocked before she sat down. She was eating suya with Gary. I knocked the door. Where's the suya now? Only for her to cover the Gary. I said, but you gave me the impression that you don't eat Gary now. They used to call you people pepperless in those times. But the amount of pepper that was in sugar, I mean, that suya was so much that I thought, this is pepperless. Why does she like suya? So I followed her. So when I got to her room, I said, look, don't hide the Gary. So we sat down, we finished the suya and the Gary together, and I left. We never dated since then because she didn't think that I was gentlemanly by coming after the suya. But I didn't have money to, I didn't have money to waste. It was supposed to be a mutual thing. Sit down, we eat the suya together and then talk. Now, after I bought you suya, you disappear back into your room.
Oh. So, what was the favorite? What was the favorite spot then on campus? Was it the library? Was it the we have the side by the water side?
Was it before I came to the main campus, I used to live in Erika, and actually I spent a lot of time in the library at the early stages, right? But beyond the library, we spent a lot of time hanging out with political people. And it was an underground movement. We used to have a Thomas Shankara movement. He had Dion Sylvester. There was, Lawipo, who was Nance PRO in those days. We hung out with them a lot. We were younger. We plotted Mayegun becoming the president of the student union because Unilag used to be one of the worst campuses for activism. They used to call it a co for show, and we hated it.
Yes. Yeah.
In those days, if you didn't have a car, you didn't dress to impress, people didn't consider you a human being and we were determined to change that. That when Mayegun became the president, we had to be wearing slippers to class. So which is so library was there, but I spent a lot of time underground organizing against the government. And we spent time in different rooms just listening to activists. And a lot of them were smuggled in.
Yeah, but I remember. Yeah.
But
I remember we also attended shows.
We attended shows. I was also part of the. I was a swimmer. I was actually part of the. I was supposed to go to Nuga in 1992, I think, to swim on behalf of Unilag at Nuga. But that was the year we had the Babangida Must Go, and we were expelled, Unilag 47, and we never ended up going to the Nuga game. So it just expelled all of us. And when we came back, we fought back, and that was 1992. 1992 was the year I became the student union president. So I didn't have to go to Nuga, but I love sport. I was a swimmer. Because I was born beside a lake in Ondo State. So I knew how to swim, and I was a very good swimmer. And I was on the swimming club on campus.
Okay, now what was the most? The life at the University of Lagos. What was the memorable moment apart from what happened to you then in school? What memory do you still remember apart from the attack?
In 1992, something happened that was remarkable. So before the Babangida Must Go protest, I was one of the presidential candidates, but I wasn't popular. In fact, the most popular guy in those days was the SU candidate, one guy, Bodunde, and the guy called Samanja. And why was Samanja popular? He was just like a comedian. And he wears all kinds of funny clothes, what Yorubas call filaelitiaja. And people just liked him. And we were agonizing as student union. They said, how does this one become our student union president after Mayegun? But people were tired of my own kind of politics because they were always closing down schools, and they were in a hurry to just graduate, and they wanted just a feel-good candidate. So when we did Babangida Must Go, they expelled all of us, 47 of us. So when we came back to campus, we fought back and we were readmitted. And it became a burden if you're a student who wanted to become president if he had not been expelled. People would be asking, why were you not expelled after Babangida Must Go? And then, so that was how me and Baggies competed as a candidate of left, Tunuga. Baggies is his popular name then. And I was the candidate of left. Baggies was, in fact, my even was supporting Baggies. But the generality of the students supported me because I think generally because I didn't have any special features. I didn't have dreadlocks and nothing too scary. It's just, and the funniest thing was that majority of my supporters were females. So I would go to, we
loved you on campus.
And they'd be screaming, they were screaming and supporting me, and that was how I won. I won the election by 888 votes. And the person that came second was the Bodende guy, who was a Believers Love Word candidate. It was a Christian candidate. But guess how I was able to win the Christians over? In year one. And, we're talking about my soft side now, right? I know people are like complaining that they want to talk about serious issues, but we agree that this
serious issues. We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
In year one, I was a member of Deeper Life Campus Fellowship in year one. As they were recruiting members, I joined them. So when they were doing the election, I went to the Deeper Life. Fellowship, and they were asking for people to give their prayer points. And I knew the Christians were supporting Bodule, who was the Christian candidate. And I went and gave a prayer request that I want to become the student union president of the University of Lagos. That they should pray for me. They said, you have not been to church, you have not been to fellowship since year one, And I said, I explained to the guy who was their director, I said, the reason I don't come to fellowship? I said, why? I said, we were in year one together in America. You used to bring one babe to your room, and I don't know what happens, and that's the reason I asked you to explain to me why you are bringing babe in the afternoon. You couldn't. So I said, no, you should have explained to me if I asked. That they were always praying. I said, no problem. But let me make my request. So they announced reluctantly for people to pray for me to become student union president. And I was given a microphone. I explained that I want to fight for student rights, welfare, and things like that. And they prayed for me. And after the prayer, a lot of them came and said, so you are a member of Deeper Life? I said, yes, I'm a passive member now. We didn't know. We thought that you never went to Deeper Life before. So what do you want to do? I started talking about how to fight the school authorities, extend whenever there's no adequate preparation for exams, how we will extend the exam dates, and they were all impressed. That was how I was able to break the back of the Christian rights or campus in those days, and they voted for me and stuck with me. Even the day I was attacked, most of the guys who fought back were Christians and those Muslim guys. The chapel and the mosque was opposite of each other at the University of Lagos. And in those days, and I think this is very important, I learned religious tolerance at the University of Lagos. The mosque and the chapel were opposite of each other, and nobody fought each other. But today, people behave as if they worship different gods.
So they are saying that, I'm reading the comments here, they're saying we should leave our Unilag story and go to serious issues. I was going to find out from, because last question I want to ask you read geography, and now you're into geography and planning. Now you're
I like to add the planning part because it makes it a little bit more dense.
Okay, now geography and planning, but you're one of the big names in the Nigerian media sector right now. So how did you like jump from that to media?
I think I learned media from the University of Lagos. One of the things we did constantly when I was at UN, like as a student union leader, was that we communicated a lot with students. We had to tell them, through rallies, we had to issue press releases regularly. I remember we used to have a board in every hostel. We used to have like a notice board with glass, transparent glasses, and we write articles, we write press releases. Some of the press releases used to be known as explosive analysis, and we would just write and put a lot of grammar in it and to rile students up. And when I left Unilag and traveled to the US, I thought information was key. And with the internet, it felt like an ordinary person like me who wasn't quote unquote originally a journalist could actually do mass communication. And the internet was a powerful tool that I thought was a blessing to reviving conversations that otherwise could have been buried or tampered with by government or even the mainstream media. So I'm a Main Street guy, and the internet provided an opportunity to create Main Street media as well. And I reveled and relished in that. And that's where
Sahara
Reporters came from.
Yeah.
Sahara Reporters is now?
Yeah.
You should ask Buhari now.
I mean, how old?
Yeah. I said you should ask Buhari. No. What I'm saying is that yes, it's still very much alive. We haven't even gone ahead now. You say you want to talk about serious issues, and you're already scared about the mention of Buhari. Let's go.
Okay. Sure. So I'm going to ask you about now. Let's assume that we Nigerians are like the Catholic priest, a Reverend Father. You're coming to do a confession, and like you're coming to confess about what is bothering you about Nigeria leadership, corruption, Boko Haram. What will you say? What will you say to the priest?
I won't go to a priest if I want to deal with Nigerian issues because
when Nigerians now you're coming to
the priest. How are you sure that the priest on the other side is not Boko Haram? That's the problem with Nigeria today. You can't even trust the priest to whom you want to confess these days, and it tells you a story about how everything is deceptive, and that is why, without apology, I advocated for a revolution. For which I spent 5 months in jail.
Yeah, the Sowore that I know very well is very compassionate, and if he believes in something, he goes for it. Like, I didn't even think that after what happened to you, like that, you might want to come and like face the government and say this is what you want for Nigerians and this is what you want to do. So I'm trying to find out that what changes are you looking at bringing into the country? What do you think? If the opportunity comes, what are you going to do for us? That's what I'm trying to find out.
I don't want you to use the word "if the opportunity comes." The opportunity has come, and it's a matter of time before Nigerians get to realize their full potential. And what is annoying to me is that we keep delaying our day of freedom and liberation, and we must move from a generation of complacency to a liberation generation. Apology to Sheon Kuti, who uses that these days on Twitter. And what that means is that without, putting too much pressure on ourselves as demands, the demands are holistic and comprehensive. We deserve better. We need a different country. We need to jettison, abandon this discredited, wicked, corrupt, and incompetent leadership in the country and move to a new era. And we are determined to make that happen. See, when you see people saying, "Oh, we want to break up Nigeria," they are doing it out of frustration. But we explained to them, I explained to them that breaking up Nigeria doesn't solve your problem, because it's just like you have a bad bread, that at the middle of the bread is rotten. You break it up, every part will still carry the rot with it. But if you bake a fresh bread, you can be guaranteed of satisfaction and great health. So that's where we are at this point, and I'm glad that people are responding favorably, not favorably, but favorably to this now, because they've come to the realization that I wasn't just being a rabble rouser, as the government want people to believe, or that I'm heady. It was just clairvoyance that there's something up here that has driven the ideas that will be very liberating and that will bring prosperity and progress to this country that has eluded us for 60 years. So there are a lot of people who want you to believe that Nigeria can never work. Every solution you throw to them pertaining to Nigeria, they throw a problem to you. But Nigeria can work because Ghana works, Rwanda works. So you have traveled extensively, and I follow you a little bit. You travel to different parts of African countries, because these days I don't even discuss Europe or America. I discuss African countries that are working. I discuss Ethiopia, that is able to build a train line from Ethiopia to Djibouti, where there's an ocean or a sea, and it didn't cost much. I discuss Rwanda, where if your cell phone drops and you come back the next day, you can meet it there. It's clean, and they are deploying technology to solve their problems. Yeah, I discuss Ghana, I discuss Egypt, I discuss Tunisia, I discuss Algeria, and I discuss a lot of our neighbors, including Benin Republic, where majority of our kids are now going to university instead of going to school here in Nigeria, because nothing works. So, so these are very simple things that can be achieved. Uh, a lot of people ask me sometimes, like, where would you find all the Sowores to be a governor or local government chairman, so that all your agenda would, flow and nobody will oppose you? No, I don't want to live in a country where we don't have opposition. That's a one-party state. I want a country where there's diversity of opinion, opposition, but that there's a focus on development, progress, and prosperity for its people, where what belongs to the majority is not cornered by a few who then use force, intimidation, fear, and harassment to impose their will on the people. So that's where we are. I don't want a country where people prefer to stay in war-torn Libya than live in a country like Nigeria that claims to be at peace, graveyard peace. So that's where I'm coming from. It's very important that people understand that. And I'm telling them that if you are in darkness or you have been in darkness, I am willing to, or I have, as I have done since last year or before then, I'm willing to turn myself on as a light that will see you through this darkness. If you are in fear, I'm here to give you courage so that you can live your life. If you're in poverty, I'm willing to give you prosperity, right? If you are in backwardness, I'm willing to give you a backbone so that you can see life during your lifetime. That is, and it's not just me, it's, don't let me use the word I, but we, those of us who believe in this ideology that I believe in seriously. And I've done it through media. I've done it, as we spoke earlier, when I was a little boy at the University of Lagos. I challenged the authorities there. I challenged both principalities and authorities and liberated the school. You remember, while we were at the University of Lagos, no student was killed by court members. You couldn't do it.
Yeah,
During
of
my
course,
time.
yeah.
A year after we left, they were killing themselves like flies on campus. Remember this. So, and that the power of ideas, the power of courage, the power of commitment and consistency can change life of a country. And that's why South Africa is no longer under apartheid today. That's why America is not as bad as it used to be, but not yet good enough as it ought to be. That is why a lot of countries that have seen revolution change direction and recover and retrieve their dignity as a people. And that's why Nigeria, in our lifetime, must experience progress, development, prosperity, and the respect for human rights and our dignity as a people. It's a must. I have no apologies for it. You can come get me tonight if you're in the DSS, police, anybody. But what you will never get from me, no matter how long I stay in detention or torture, is for me to change my position on these issues because they are sacrosanct, Azuka.
So, I was going to ask you, I mean, you're in the country right now. How do you feel about the way federal government have handled COVID-19? If you were in Buhari's shoes, what would you have done? Are you impressed with what they've done so far? With the
So we found
coronavirus
ourselves with COVID-19. It depends on which COVID you are talking about. There's a pandemic, there's a scandemic, and then there's a panoramic, and I will explain it. And then there's COVID 419. So Nigeria was found in the middle of a war with COVID pandemic. And when you find yourself in the middle of a war, the first thing you need is a commander-in-chief that can rally all the troops and make them happen, rally the people, rally their patriotism to say, hey, we're fighting. Nigeria was bereft of that. We only had a president who showed up in apparition once in a while to convince the people that he survived COVID. Nothing more. Nothing happened here. We were just lucky. We were lucky that we didn't get the kind of COVID pandemic that they had in places like Italy, Spain, or the US or Brazil. Otherwise, this conversation would have been different tonight. We had no leader. COVID-19 met us without a president. And the only other president that in Asura, one elected, the other one unelected, or one selected and one, the other one unelected. And that one is late, unfortunately. So there was no response. And then you hear, this is not me, state governors saying that they were forced to declare that they have COVID. You go to Kano where there was a pandemic, and you go to their isolation centers, and there's nobody there. You go to Gombe, the isolation center, people are there, they are dancing Naira Marley inside the place. And you go to another isolation center, it's just a scam. And it's because the pandemic didn't meet us with a leader. And that's why Nigerians must fight to get a leader at this time. And it's very important that we don't take for granted leadership. So that if this were to happen to us again, and we're not so lucky, we might survive it in one piece.
Okay. So are you trying to say, in other words, that you don't believe there's coronavirus or what?
No, I'm not saying there's no coronavirus. I'm just saying that our response to the pandemic was a disaster. It was even more disaster than the pandemic itself. You remember the first week of the lockdown, the Nigerian security forces killed more Nigerians enforcing a lockdown than even COVID-19 killed. So, we don't know what is happening. We don't have any information about what is the true situation of things. And it's not like COVID-19 is gone. It's still around, but the response is so porous. People have gone back to their normal ways of doing things. Even when the chief of staff to the president died, members of the presidency violated their own rules to attend the burial in such a way. We saw how some of the officials were disposing of PPEs, personal protection equipment, in the most unhealthy manner. We are in total confusion in this country, and that cannot continue and must not be allowed to continue.
Okay. Now,
and then they claim that they were feeding kids at home, school feeding. Kids that were at home needed knowledge, but they claim they're providing them food. And I swear, Azuka, I don't know of anybody in Nigeria, and I live in Abuja. I've lived in Abuja since December 24th, 2019. I don't know of anybody in this Abuja whose son, daughter, or child, or relative has ever been fed by the federal government in their so-called feeding program. But that's not what the
This
kids need.
palliative.
They need education. They need, and their parents need palliative. They claim that they were giving palliatives to people, and it was all a scam. It's just scam, 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 scam. That's why my friend Femi Ade, that young activist who was expelled from England for a long time, who has not been readmitted, and we must fight that. Call it a scamdemic.
That's a new one. And now you know that right now the speaker of the Lagos State House Management Speaker, Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, there's this rumor out there that you are working with Ambode to mess him up. I mean, how true is that?
Rumor. Are you not a journalist? What's the meaning of rumor?
I'm a journalist, of course, but I don't have to call names.
At least you know me enough to know that I've been practicing journalism since 2006, and this is 2020. Calculate it, and come back to me and tell me that somebody heard a rumor. What's the meaning of a rumor? First, I have been in detention for 5 months. I was detained last August 3 to be specific, released on December 24th. I've been in Abuja based on the court order that did not even allow me to leave Abuja. Till today, I'm here on a bail condition that doesn't let me move, doesn't let me see my family. So you are ascribing to me a rumor out of Lagos of the speaker. Of all the people that I need to fight, who is the speaker of Lagos? If I have to deal with the speaker of Lagos that you have claimed is a rumor, do I need to go through Ambode or whomever is there? When I had fought in the past against the military, did I go through Ambode? You reduce my relevance to nothing when you say that I'm working with Ambode. Who was Ambode when we were at the University of Lagos? Which year did Ambode graduate from University of Lagos? You remember? Maybe around the time we were students. Never met Ambode before. I don't believe in him. All of these guys are scammers in Lagos. Even Ambode himself. But why was he prevented from running? Was it because he's their godfather, Jagaban of Bodilon, who is the leader of the bandits in Lagos, got tired of them and sacrificed him? So why would you ascribe a rumor to me? And on top of that, you're a journalist. Why would you be writing? Do you write rumors? Are you a gossip journalist?
Well, maybe I should use the word rumor, but maybe ask you to clarify that. Is it true that
you don't need to clarify anything from me. If you know, it's maybe what you're trying to say, to be specific, is that Sahara Reporters is reporting on the corruption of the speaker.
Yeah.
And I expect that you go and read what is there. Are they lying against the speaker? Did they provide evidence-based reporting? If they do, how's that rumor? If he's stealing and they're exposing him, how's that rumor? So to impugn rumors or impute rumors to serious journalistic work reduces even yourself and the work you do as a journalist to some measure of seriousness, with due respect.
Give me hand. You won't give me hand. I will take her. I think you want to give me hand. I'll take it.
I'm addressing your question. I'm addressing your question. Yeah. But this, I'm just saying that.
Well, so, I said I know you very well. So if you want to give me a word, I'll take it with all pleasure.
That's
what I just have to ask questions, I think, because I said, okay, I'm going to be online with you today. Because you don't know what I've said. I've argued about it behind your back with some of my colleagues. I said,
look, Azuka, you don't need to argue anything behind me. Yes, I have friends like yourself. I have a lot of friends who come to me and say, oh, they said this thing about you, and we have to defend you. You don't have to defend me. What will defend me is my character, is my work. But I know that people get confronted with all kinds of things about Sowore. I don't know. You remember when I was arrested, all kinds of lies were told about me. Even the government tried to, manufacture charges about me, but eventually they had to drop some of those charges because it's stupid, And I don't want to go the route of stupidity or idiocy by arguing about the Speaker of Lagos. They said is working. It doesn't look. I want us to discuss concrete issues that make sense, how we can save this country, not how the Speaker of Lagos think about me. I don't live my life based on how political leader. I don't even care about how President Buhari think about me. It doesn't matter. What matters is how we walk ourselves out of this hole into which these criminals drove us. Whether it's the Speaker of the House somewhere, or the governor of a state, or the president of Nigeria, it doesn't matter. We fight our ways until we fight our way out of this and liberate ourselves. So I'm just saying that it reduces the content and the context of this conversation to some base instinct. If I'm here discussing the Speaker of Lagos State and what he thinks about me, what you should have asked the Speaker and the people who said is a rumor is that, is there anything that some Sahara reporters, which I'm not here to defend because I've hardly even worked with Sahara these days, but I don't deny that I'm the founder of Sahara reporters. As a well-known fact, is the platform, the medium, telling a lie about the Speaker. Did they provide evidence to show that the Speaker of Lagos, as you claim, is engaging in corruption? And if that is the case, why are we calling it a rumor?
Okay, so some of the people on this on the comment section, they are begging that they want to ask questions. I don't know. Should we take some of their questions?
Feel free. Feel free.
Okay. Well, I can't say the question anymore. If you're not ready to go all the way, then okay. So let me just ask them. A guy kept on like commenting that he needed to ask you something. What is your view about celebrities' attitude towards what is happening in Nigeria?
Look, the battle for liberation is not something that you hang on the neck of celebrities. Celebrities are who they are. Celebrities, they are fluff. When I'll give you an example. When the Chibok girls were abducted, I was in the US, and everybody would call me from morning to evening. Oh, what can we do? How do we design our poster? PDD wants to, bring back our girl. It's 45 seconds, It says the celebrities have, zero staying power. Celebrities fight for you. You don't have anybody fighting for you because celebrities are who they are. Fluff, mostly fluff. It takes, a lot to find a celebrity who has the capability of staying in power because celebrities don't want to roughen themselves. They don't want to roughen the powers that be. A lot of celebrities are part and parcel of the oppressive class. That's how they make their money. That's how they make out a living or eke out a living. You don't leave liberation struggles to be fought by celebrities, except celebrities who are conscious. And that's what is killing us in Nigeria. We leave our battles to be fought by celebrities. When COVID-19 happened, what happened with celebrities? The government officials started giving them money, give away. After 1 week, all the celebrities disappear with a giveaway. But they help distract the attention of Nigerians from getting the government to do their real job, which is providing palliatives. Celebrities were doing giveaways. And they knew that they didn't have the capacity to do it. It turns out that some of them were even collecting money from people to do giveaways and collecting their own percentage out of the giveaway that should go to the poor. But it was a distraction, and that's what celebrities are. I am not in any way disputing that celebrities can give fillip to struggles and give some teeth to it. But when you want to fight serious battles, you don't leave your battles for liberation to celebrities. Because celebrities are too clean. They don't want to get dirty. You leave it to people who are ready to go the whole night yard, as I said.
Okay, sure. We're gonna ask this. I asked them Uncle Dele this question last week when I had him on my live. I'm also want to find out from you. When do you think that the South is forgiving, and when you think we can never govern this country? I mean,
You mean the
the civil war
Southeast?
has been, yeah, the civil war is over 40 years now. When do you think Nigeria will forgive the Southeast and maybe
It's not.
give them an opportunity?
It's not Nigeria that needs to forgive the Southeast. It's Southeasterners are the ones who need to forgive Nigeria. Nigeria did an unspeakable amount of harm and crime against the people of the Southeast. And to start having a conversation with the Southeast, Nigeria must go on its knees to apologize, beg, and purge itself of its crime against the people of the Southeast. You can't just kill 3 million people, defeat them in your mind, and then wake up and say nobody was defeated. Of course, somebody was brutalized. So I know what goes on, in the background. I know what we tell ourselves, non-Easterners, what our parents told us, the lies they told us that this war was caused by Igbos and that the Igbos were defeated. I know it's a hot topic, but nobody wants to accept the truth that nobody was defeated. I mean, the Igbos weren't defeated. What was defeated was our humanity. And I'll say it that for us to fix the problem, we must apologize. We must fix the relationship. And I'm afraid that it's almost getting too late to even fix the problem because of the arrogance of power and the ignorance of those who are in power. And of course, the collaboration and the connivance of even people from the Southeast who are using the situation for profit. And they're not only limited to the South. It's the reason I don't do this whole let us break up thing because in the 90s, I saw what Yorubas did to Abiola. I was close to Abiola, I was close to the Junto struggle. Traditional rulers, business people, they were just selling everybody out. In those days, I used to say to myself, going by what I knew, what Yorubas did to the Junto struggle, that if Jesus Christ came back again, the person that might betray him might likely be a Yoruba man. And I stand by that based on my experience. So don't get emotive about, I want to break Nigeria up. You should ask yourself, when you break up Nigeria, in your own part of Nigeria, who are you going to be with? The same people who are betraying you at the center will come back home. The same assassins, the same Judases, they'll come and kill you. So let's just work in a manner that understands that our enemies are not based in any region. They are based in a place of heartlessness, wickedness, corruption. And the moment you understand that, then you're thinking liberation. But coming back to the Southeast, if I were to be Nigeria's president today, I will apologize officially, the same way Germany, apologized on behalf of Hitler. But the problem with Nigeria is that the people that fought the civil war, the people that killed in Asaba, killed everywhere, killed children, men, stabbed, innocent people, they are still the ones in Nigeria running our affairs. You understand? They're still here. They haven't gone anywhere. And unfortunately, some of our people who are also saying that they want justice, they are working for them. When election comes now, the same people with pitch tents, with the same characters who carried out genocide between 1966 and 1969 during the Civil War. That's the truth. And until we purge ourselves of this hypocrisy, we can't even face the problem at all. Can't. And it's very sad.
So probably means that maybe like in the nearest future, there's still no hope for anybody from the east to govern the
to
country.
govern Nigeria,
Yeah.
because there's no hope for anybody to govern Nigeria as long as Nigeria is the way it is. Because sometimes you think the Easterners governing Nigeria will solve the problem, or a Westerner governing Nigeria will solve the problem. Some people used to have the mindset that, oh, the moment the Yoruba man governs Nigeria, Nigeria would be fantastic. Yorubas are powerful administrators, they are exposed. And then the owners of Nigeria brought Obasanjo, and the man took you back by 50 years. They said, oh, maybe if you have a PhD holder from the minority area, Nigeria will become Eldorado. And then they look for a PhD holder because that's what we asked for. From the Creeks, Jonathan came and governed Nigeria, took Nigeria by 60 years back into the past. They said, oh, maybe if we get a former military leader who is ruthless, maybe Nigerians will sit up. We need to even introduce a war against discipline all over again. And then went and brought the most undisciplined man to come and govern Nigeria, threw Nigeria back by 100 years. So people have to decide what they want. And sometimes I don't even argue for, let's bring a young person. Because honestly, there are a lot of young people in Nigeria today who are worse than even the older generation. They're more vicious, greedier, and heartless. So we have to be very clear what we want. And it's a Nigerian who can govern Nigeria, not somebody who wants to ride roughshod on the people of Nigeria. I've even heard people say that maybe you should bring back the white man, colonialism, just bring them back. So it's the reason I speak in a language of
Okay, now we're
of
done explaining.
both our mental thinking and our physical condition. Is a total rehabilitation of our space. That's and I came to that conclusion after I ran in the election in 2019 and discovered that these people are not interested in elections. And people are talking about 2023 again. They are happy that you are postponing your day of the liberation to 2023. I tell you that based on the way they run election in this country, the results of 2023 has already been written, except there is a clash between those who want change and those who hold change to ransom.
So now, when Abakari was alive, he had this larger-than-life personality. In short, well, they said like our president. But why do you think that President Buhari would have given him so much power in his government?
Honestly, Buhari doesn't exist as a person. I'm telling you this categorically. The man is just there. It's just a shadow of himself. It's an apparition. That's why I call it apparitional presidency. Like it's just there. It's just pointing to you. That's the president. And then the next thing, and if you see these days, if you watch even the videos of him, they're always protecting him from saying things, without preparing for it. And then sadly, a lot of our mainstream media outlets are in bed with them. They help them to edit things that could have let Nigerian people know that they don't really have a president. So they just deceive you every day. Somebody will come and tell you that, the man is the most brilliant person, and you ask him to point to anything brilliant. They say, no, you don't have to ask. That's not his style. Then somebody will ask and say, the man is the most agile person. And say, point to how he's agile. Say, no, you don't have to ask. Don't you know he's an old man? And then somebody will say that, he's the most open-minded Nigerian. And then you say, but why is he making all this appointment that shows that he doesn't even believe in Nigeria? Say you don't have to ask. So it's all a lie. Look, the political class has always been liars, like shameless liars. They have no shame. They're like that macaroni character, Mr. Macaroni, who says to you, I'm shameless. I'm shameless. By the way, I'm a fan of Macaroni. I like him. He's a creative guy. But it's just how
you're doing well. You're doing well. You're doing well.
Yes, yes. It says you're doing.
You're doing well. That is one of the.
That's how Nigeria is a joke, you know. They were telling the man even when he's messing up, say you're doing well. They told Abacha he was doing well. They told Babangida you are doing well. You're doing well because you know, like the Mr. Macaroni character, they're shameless. You know, they told Shonekon you're doing well. Even 1 year ago, I was dying. They're saying the man that he's doing well. When Jonathan was there, you are doing well. You know, every leader in Nigeria is always doing well until they're out of power. And the same set of people will say, no, we never supported, he was a stupid man, wicked man, you know. So because there's a cottage industry of bootlickers, you know, in Nigeria. Actually, you can't call them bootlickers, call them ass lickers. They'll do anything just to be close to power and stick to the corridors of power, and they will lie and lie about it, you know, because otherwise, in other countries, somebody would have come out and said to us, look, this is the true condition of the presidency. Even Donald Trump helped us. You know, he met with President Buhari and he said it publicly that the man is lifeless. Donald Trump said it. You know, so what else you need to know? And that's the president of that's the most powerful president in the world. He met the guy, and that was his judgment. But why is it that our own political class members are lying about it? You know, why are they so dishonest? You know, there's something genetic about dishonesty of the political class in Nigeria. But they don't care, because if they are not dishonest, how would they make money? How would they be, you know, riding roughshod on the rest of us? That's how they make it. But trust me, if Buhari is no longer in power tomorrow, the same people will come out and say, because we saw it during Abacha, they said, no, we want him. He's a bad person. But they were the same people who were holding rallies, including some celebrities, who were holding rallies saying that Abacha must continue. Some people were holding rallies that Babangida must continue, that is the best president Nigeria ever had. So people were holding rallies for Jonathan, even though they knew the man, you know, had no idea, he was clueless about governance. And some of them are still holding on to it. Why are we deceiving ourselves? And I hold the young generation of leaders today to that period. You know, look at somebody like Femi Adesina, for example. When he was a columnist, he wrote something against Buhari, Gambari, saying that, you know, what, and now he's kissing up to the same person. And they're just dishonest people. But when they were in the newsroom in those days, they will write and people will be praising them. That this is one honest. I think they said he's even a deacon in a church. But now look at what the man has turned himself into. You know, look at Garba. One day, I think it was under Obasanjo, the DSS surrounded Garba house and wanted to arrest him. I think it's under Obasanjo of Jonathan. He called me. I was in the US. Said, Sowore, you are the only person who can save me. These people have surrounded my house. We started, you know, tweeting, writing on that, you know, the DSS. Eventually, he was not arrested because, you know, we put a lot of pressure on the government then. The same Garba gets to Aso Rock. He's defending my illegal detention, you know. And his position was that, in his view, I'm not a journalist. So because I'm not a journalist, I deserve to be detained perpetually, even when the court order says release him. So characters, you know, these are very devious characters, deviants. And no society saddled with these kind of characters can never make progress. Never.
What about the past spokesmen like Dr. Ruben Abati? Did you think? I mean, what was your opinion about this when it was?
Have you ever watched me on Ruben Abati show? And I was on the show with him before I was arrested, and he confessed that I made his life hell when he was spokesperson to Jonathan. It wasn't different. They were all lying. But what the new generation of liars should learn is what happened to their former generation of liars before them, their forebears. Look at Dr. Abati now. He's humbled, working as a TV talk head at Arise News. because power is gone. Nothing more. This is the only way a party can be relevant. He's working as a talking head at Rice TV. That's what Dr. Abati is doing now, and writing articles, sometimes funny articles, so that he doesn't offend the people in power. But had they stuck with, and consistently stuck with what people thought they were, they would be more respected today. But the thing is, a lot of them also put up a facade. They were representing themselves or presenting themselves as who they are not. And when you take the facade off, you just see an empty barrel or empty person. So that's the truth. And the fact is that you now have the media has been hijacked by the same political class members who the media should be reporting against. And they hire some of the so-called best journalists to work for them. When I was in detention, I think there was a guy at a TVC who does journalist hangouts. Baba, I think Otitoju. He was bragging and boasting. He said, I'm a Buharist. Which journalist, goes on TV and say, and you want people to think that you are, I'm a Buharist. I believe in Buhari. You can't do no wrong, on TVC. So I understand that's what they do, but they should not come and be pretending that they are interested in media or they are objective. If you are a Buharist, you should be working at, what's the news TV station that Buhari created for, the one that he nearly created for herdsmen. That's where you should be working now. Don't pretend. Or you go and work at NTA. Lose sleep over you. But I've never even heard anybody on NTA who boasts that he's a Buharist. But you have them, recklessly saying that. I read one journalist yesterday justifying the detention of someone who criticized Lai Mohammed. That's what the joke we have all become these days in Nigeria, and that must change.
So, what is your view about the appointment of Gambari as the new SSG?
My view is public. It's pathetic.
Professor,
it's honestly pathetic. It's very sad that someone who has supported over these years everything despicable about Nigeria has come to be rewarded with the position of chief of staff. But I don't see it as a reward or a makeover. It is, birds of the same feather flocking together. I mean, who would a Buhari as president take as chief of staff? He will go for the worst character because that reflects, that tells the story about his own choices and who he is. So I wasn't expecting him to choose.
Can I correct myself? I meant to say chief of staff, not SSG.
Yes.
Chief of staff.
I know what you are talking about. I know Gambari is the chief of staff to Buhari. He's a new chief of staff. And I published an article that I published against him, I think around 2005 when I was in the US. I protested against him when they were trying to rehabilitate him. And they even brought him to speak at an event at Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn, where on June 12th, we had to go there to disrupt the event. But it was at that event that was my first arrest in the US by the security of the school, and they tried to hand me over to the police. And when the police, when they took me out and the police saw me, I explained to them that the man is a crook from Nigeria, and they let me go.
So, last week I spoke to Bob D. We call him Bob D in the media. I'm sure you know him.
No, that's the moment now. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was saying that for anybody to emerge Nigerian president, he must belong to either APC or PDP. Do you think that maybe, do you agree with what he's saying?
I don't agree with Bob D. Bob
Because
D
he
is
talked about, we talked about you. He said, he
yeah.
really
No, I don't
loved
agree
your
with that.
energy.
I don't agree. I think it's the old thinking. He belongs in that place where the people he sees on a regular basis, the people he genuflects to, are people in those parties. We don't believe that. We believe that none of those people deserve to even be near the corridors of power. As a matter of fact, with due respect, most of them should be in prison.
Including Bob D.
Well, maybe Bob D can be there to be taking their pictures. He's their photographer now. He can be taking
Okay.
the mug shots for us and publishing.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this question, but I'll have to read it from my phone because I don't want to mince words. So why should the voters trust you after siding Buhari initially, and besides a lot of activists, for example, a lot of activists like Chief Adams Oshomole was also one of our activists there. And I remember I interviewed him, we were like supporting him. But immediately he tasted the corridors of power, he changed. And he hasn't come out in any way to support the common man.
So I would correct two things quickly. And I will go first with Adams Oshomole. There's nobody in the civil rights movement, pro-democracy movement, who will tell you that Adams Oshomole is an activist. None. Adams Oshomole is a hustler. And I'm saying it categorically, and I'll challenge him to a debate over it. Adams Oshomole never participated in the struggle for democracy. In fact, when Abacha was killing people and everybody was on that, Adams Oshomole was in this Abuja with Abacha. He was actually, I think, one of the Labour leaders, and I'm not sure, but I want to find out who was recruited to the constitutional conference that Abacha set up. He was chummy and cozy with Abacha. The Adams Oshomole, though was a Labour leader, was one of those Labour leaders who were double dealing with the military. He became popular under the civilian regime, under Obasanjo. And what I heard and know about Adams Oshomole is that he will go into a meeting with Obasanjo, they will increase fuel price to say 70 naira.
Wow.
But they will agree with Obasanjo that if we do 1 day strike, you reduce it to 50. But originally the price is 30, right? So, and people will be praising him because of his, rhetorical prowess. He knows how to talk rubbish, talk the game, as they say in the US. But Adams Oshomole was never, I was a student activist, in the 90s, and we fought until democracy came. Adams Oshomole never featured in any protest that I was part of. None. If Adams Oshomole was an activist, he would have been jailed by Abacha or Babangida. Frank Kokori was arrested and detained for a long time because he was genuinely fighting for June 12th. Adams Oshomole, with due respect, and for those of us who are in the pro-democracy movement, please don't insult us with this Adams Oshomole story. He was never a real activist. These are activists created by situational variables, and people fell for them. The second disclosure I want to make, and also to dispute, is this lie that I supported Buhari. If I supported Buhari, going by what you know of me, would you not have a video of Sowore saying vote for Buhari? Or me attending an event where Buhari's campaign took place? Never. I was doing my job conscientiously as a reporter, and did all the expose on the corruption under Jonathan. In Jonathan's people's mind, that is the support for Buhari. But why don't the same Jonathan people accuse me of supporting Jonathan when Yaradua, then you were a reporter at This Day, I remember, was dying, and they didn't want to relinquish power to Jonathan because they said he's minority. They even wanted to kill him in a coup plot. We were exposing all these things. Why don't they accuse me of working for Jonathan then? Because it's convenient to just lie against people. But the moment you present you ask them for evidence, everybody will disappear. They will be looking for one interview or the other you granted. But they can never find a place where I supported Buhari's candidature. No. I have never met Buhari before. Never in my life. Even though after he won the election, they came to the US. This same additional invited Sahara reporters to come, and they said, this Femi Additional now, the loudmouth who is a spokesperson to Buhari now, he invited us that. So one of them said, Buhari wants to see me personally. I said, for what? I'm not interested. I'm not interested in meeting people in power. And when I attended the inauguration of Buhari, that was where me and Adeola confronted Mugabe. If you remember the video. And when I came from the inauguration, I knew that Buhari was never prepared to be president of Nigeria. Because even at the inauguration, after they left, they had no preparation. And then it took them 6 months. I granted an interview to Punch. You can Google it. Where I said these guys were not prepared for office. As of 2015, I had already written off the Buhari regime. So if my crime was that I was reporting against Jonathan for corruption and reporting that I reported the election results and captured it accurately before they could rig it, I mean, you can hold that against me, but to lie against me that I supported Buhari and to provide the evidence, everybody keeps running away. And there's no evidence, but we know you did it. You know you did it. It was a PDP talking point. They even claimed that I was working for Tinubu. And when I tore Tinubu into shreds by telling people that as of 1992, when I was already a national figure at the age of 21, 22, Tinubu, when we go to meetings, pro-democracy meeting, that we speak first before they allow Tinubu to speak because they were not relevant. We were the student leaders who had the crowd. They were hiding around because Babangida had been on their neck in those days when he was practicing some kind of diarchy. They were the ones who emboldened Babangida. Go and see what Tinubu wrote when Gambari was appointed. Flowery, letter praising him for being a diplomat. These are the same Tinubu people who used to tell us in Lagos when they were in the US that Gambari was being used by Buhari Abacha to hunt them in the US, to assassinate them. These guys are a bunch of liars. And I've challenged them. Come and prove it. Nobody will be able to prove it. Have you ever seen me with any APC? Ask Kenyamo, who was in APC. Abike Dabiri. All these people there was a time I was at Intercontinental Hotel. They said they want to have a meeting. The Amici was there too. Can you please attend our meeting? I said, no, I came to interview Buhari, but Buhari didn't show up. They said he was too tired because he's retired and tired since 1980, whatever. So all these guys, they know the truth. But honestly, some of these lies also favors the APC people because in their eyes, it reduces somehow my credibility to neutrality, consistency. But as you mentioned before this question, said, how do you trust me? I have been doing this for 30 years. 30 years without blemish. 30 years. It's even more than 30 years now because when I met you, I think we met around 1992, right?
I think in our 20s or so.
Yes. Yeah, I don't want you to mention your age online, just keep it to yourself. But this is some 30 years ago when we were in our 20s. Yeah. I'm 49 now. I've been doing this. I started activism in 1989 when I was 18 years old, as soon as I got to Union Live. The records are there for the public to scrutinize, So, but it's comfortable for both parties to say, oh, Sowore supported listen, but I'm telling you, I've always been a constant feature in the fight for progress and development in Nigeria in terms of democracy. So if you see me fighting, it's because it's the only thing I know how to do, fight for what is right.
So, Sowore, do you think that after this COVID-19 experience, would you think that our healthcare is going to improve? I mean, like we see them
Healthcare,
erecting, yes, erecting tents for patients here and there. Is there hope that, I mean, if they can erect, I don't know
you
if
are
they can
making
erect
you are making,
tents so fast.
you are
They
making
can
me
erect
laugh.
tents so fast.
So what I want to tell you, so that you don't go too far, is that you can only improve what you have. You can only improve
Yeah.
upon what you have. We don't have a healthcare system. You know, healthcare is a system. It's a system that is not composed of hospital buildings alone. In fact, hospital buildings are the least you need when you're talking about healthcare. It's an expertise system that requires, human resources, that requires research, requires medicine, you know, it requires electricity, security, you know, even the healthcare system requires
Somebody said,
cleanliness,
somebody said,
you know.
sorry to cut, somebody said, I joined Sowore to laugh in Swahili. The comment
Yes,
section.
yes, I'm telling you. So if you don't have healthcare, you can't improve on what you don't have. We don't have a healthcare system. Forget about this whole joke about erecting tents, and all that. That one is entertainment. It's like erecting a tent for what do you do at the end of the year. You do entertainment journalism. So when you erect that thing in front of Babish, that's what they're doing. And then when the whole hoopla is gone, you just take it down and then you move on with your life. Do you know what we found out by research during this period of COVID-19? That there are not up to 5,000 hospital beds, not up to 5,000 hospital beds available between Abuja and Lagos in a country of 200 million people. We don't want to talk ventilators. I don't think we have in this Abuja up to 40 or 50 ventilators. I doubt it. I don't know how many they have in Lagos, but it's probably going to be about that. Maybe two, The US made a big deal out of donating 200 ventilators to us. 200. A country of 200 million people. Trump was drooling over himself, when he was announcing, yes, I'm going to give 200 ventilators to the lifeless people of Nigeria. I think they can appreciate it. They can appreciate it. So, because we don't have anything, there's nothing to improve upon. I don't even think they have arrived yet, by the way. The ones that maybe Trump has even forgotten that he promised us anything. So when the team met us, we needed face masks donated from. They even claimed that they were bringing in doctors from China. Nobody can find the doctors now. They are like missing like a needle in the haystack. Where are the Chinese doctors? There's nothing on the ground. Nothing. There's no healthcare system on the ground. Like I said, a healthcare needs system is a system thing. These days it even requires a lot of technology that we don't have. We don't even have electricity that can power any form of healthcare system in this country. Like you can't go and operate on somebody using a generator. What if in the middle of it the thing just goes off? Or do you use batteries? I don't know, man. We haven't started yet. But we must, and we must start pretty soon. We must start very soon.
So, do you, I mean, like, my fear is that these days, when I go online and I see what the youth write, their comments, and I just always feel that, like, are we really ready? There's too much, you know, trivial things that they comment about on social media when it should be like serious issues, like political issues.
Look,
Do you think
you
Nigerians
can't
are
blame
ready
them.
for?
You can't blame them. All of us somehow are guilty of this. We are promoting a culture of fluff. Young people don't have heroes. They don't have leaders. They don't have anything to aspire to. So everybody's just grabbing to this, the straw. So that's why the celebrity culture is a big deal, because what do you have left? You don't have a country, you don't have a leader, you don't have a president. All you have left is Davido sometimes, and Naira Marley. That's why he created his own nation, Malian nation. But that's not what's gonna save us. It's when we all wake up one day, that fluff can't save us. It can't take us anywhere. But it is a decisive action of fighting for liberation that will take us to the promised land, quote and unquote. And then when we are serious about it, when we get serious, the government, we know that we are serious. The people in government, we know that we're serious. And they will know that they have to take a reverse motion. But right now, young people are just generally confused. And sometimes you can't blame them, because even when they see real leaders, activists, they don't know how to trust them, because they have been led by a series of dishonest people. You can't blame them, right? So they just go where they can find instant or instantaneous, kind of happiness, no matter how long it lasts, because young people like to feel happy, right? But the earlier they recognize that that is also not going to be salvation, and get serious, because I got serious at a very young age, 18. I've been very serious like this since I was 18. And people will tell me, oh, when you graduate, you won't be like this anymore. And I say, oh, when you get married, you won't be like this anymore. When you have children, you won't get like this anymore. But you can be serious, and still go through the motion of progress in life. Because it's a function of consistency, right? So, and I've been through all of that, and with due respect, I think I'm still very serious, very, very serious. And I'm serious about changing, seeing, being a vehicle for change in my lifetime, no matter what it would take.
A lot of people are asking here at the comment section that where is our VP? Where's our best president? That's
The election that had a VP ended in 2019, right? This is 2020. And the Sowore of 2019 has mutated also into a revolutionary moment. And revolutionaries don't have deputies. Everybody's a revolutionary in a revolutionary movement. There's no VP.
right now.
Revolutionaries don't have VPs. We're all revolutionaries.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the present. Like they're saying that where's
Oh,
our
you're
vice
talking about
president?
the VP of
Yeah,
the vice president to Buhari?
yeah, that he's
Oh,
been absent in
that
so many things.
that question should go to Buhari, not me. I don't know where they are. I don't know where they're located.
That maybe you have an idea. Like, what do you think about his being so quiet lately? He's not functioning. He's not.
That's not my problem. I don't. When we talk about the regime, I am not separating. It's not a bifurcated conversation. I'm not separating the VP from the president. It's one body. So when we say that they are useless, we are talking about all of them. All of them are lifeless. VPO, president to Senate president to speaker, all of them, they are the same. We are all in the same boat. We are not. You can't rate one above the other.
So
There's a Yoruba saying that àparò kan ọ̀gá jù kan láyé àbí tó bá gorí ebè, which àparò is the bird known as a quail. They say all of them are of the same height except the ones that climb on top of a heap. So except the VP climbs on top of a heap, he's not taller than his president, and if he climbs on top of it, doesn't affect his height. Anyways, it's just a quick saying so that we don't waste our time discussing
Okay, what about your former VP? What about your former VP? The person just told me that right now that he wasn't. Yeah.
That's what I said. VP. He was a guy that came for the election, and okay. I'm not discussing election now. We're discussing a revolutionary Nigeria. Future. Yeah, Nigeria so discussing that. Yeah.
Do you also believe that without Asiwaju's blessing, that when politically you cannot go anywhere in this country? Because that's the if you want to be president.
Who's Asiwaju?
Asiwaju Ahmed.
Who's Asiwaju? Oh, that's for Yorubas. Those are for Yorubas who are enslaved to his ideology. I don't believe that. So, and I don't rate myself on ethnic basis. I rate myself as a human being, a freeborn. And as a freeborn, you don't attach your political fortune or freedom to that of one man who knows how to manipulate everybody, or who has succeeded for a while in stealing the destiny of or holding to ransom a group of people. I don't belong in that category. I think I addressed that before. I'm not in that class of people. Those who are enslaved to him, who are afraid of him, who think they need him to survive, I wish them good luck. But I don't belong in that category.
Okay, what's the way forward right now? I mean, for you, because I won't lie to you. I always get a bit. I know you're very fearless. Sometimes when I read like stories about you, I'm like a bit scared. I know you're very stubborn. So, what is your greatest fear as a person?
I don't have any fears. I have divorced myself from fear a long time ago. From since my days at the University of Lagos, I've one of the things you have to get rid of if you want to live a free life, if you want to continue to be a freeborn, is to not let fear stand in the way of how you think and how you operate. Because fear is the most powerful currency that an oppressor uses to suppress people. And the reason why Nigeria is where it is today is because a lot of people are afraid, and they're afraid for no reason. They're afraid of people who ordinarily are afraid of them. It's so sad.
So, what's the way forward? Are you going to, when you become the president, are you going to change a lot of things in our constitution? Because so many things are.
When you say this is part of the problem, is the way we qualify the Nigerian constitution. You just call it our constitution. Were you part of the people that made the constitution?
No. Well, I'm not part of
why are you calling it our constitution? It was a military constitution. It has to be changed. When apartheid collapsed, what did they do? The first thing they did was to change the constitution of South Africa. Is the reason today that somebody cannot be arrested in South Africa for abusing the president, even if you insult the president, which Malema and the rest of them do in the parliament on a regular basis. Nobody can go and touch them, because the first thing they did was to change their constitution and make it the people's constitution. The Nigerian constitution is not what the piece of paper upon which it was written. It was plagiarized from all over the world, including the USA in particular. It was written and designed by a bunch of military buzzards and imposed on you, and they wrote everything in there is a lie, including the opening paragraph, which says, "We, the people of Nigeria." No. They should have just said, "Some of us in the military wrote this constitution, and what betide you if you don't accept it." So that constitution has to go. I went to the National Assembly this year during the social media law debate, and the hate speech bill law debate, act debate. And I told them that right at the National Assembly, I told them that you don't have a constitution. This is a useless constitution. It's not our own, and it has to be changed. And that remains my position. We can make a new constitution within a very short time, and it will address a lot of the issues we are having, including restructuring, human rights, education, anti-corruption, But the way it is now, we're just doing, the constitution is a trial and error document. And that's why it's easy for anybody to trample upon it. You know, because even the operators of the constitution don't believe in it. They know it's not authentic. It didn't have the imprimatur of the people. It didn't enjoy the endorsement of the people. It's a constitution. Every serious constitution has to go through a referendum. Nigerian constitution didn't pass the smell test.
Okay, sure. What will happen if by 2023 you are not released? What will happen to your ambition?
Released? I'm not incarcerated.
Yeah, but if
You know,
you're like, if
you
you
know
don't
the
allow you
worst
to
thing that can
contest,
happen. You know the worst thing that can happen to a human being is to feel that you are incarcerated. If your mind feels incarcerated, even when you are free, you'll be in jail. Even when I was in detention, I never for one day felt incarcerated, and I operated as if I know that I had restrictions around me, but I talked, ate, and exercised my rights to say whatever I wanted to say. And they hated me for it. They even came to meet me in prison and said they want to release me if I could abandon the struggle, and I refused. And then the next week, they took me to court and slammed all kinds of charges against me, which most of which have been dropped now. So nobody can keep me incarcerated if I don't feel incarcerated. Even their so-called trial, it's their own trial. They are the ones on trial. I'm not the one on trial.
were you tortured?
Well, when I was arrested,
I'm asking questions from the crowd now because they're saying
no,
that
when I
I'm
was
being so.
arrested, when I was arrested, they almost broke my arm. So I considered, and then they put me in terrible condition in Lagos detention. But I wasn't. They harassed me, tried to break my arm on my way to detention. But after I wasn't physically touched after that. But this is not my first detention. It's my 10th time of being detained since 1992. So I've been through all of that before. I've been tortured before. I've been beaten, rough-handed. But if you don't think I was tortured, at least you see what they did in court, trying to abduct me in December, right? That is even more traumatizing than any form of torture, because it was a disgrace, and I was rough-handed publicly in the full glare of television cameras. So if that is not torture, what is torture?
Okay, because they're saying that I'm being selfish. I'm not allowing them to ask you questions. Can we take questions from the comment section?
You have the floor. You run the show, so you can do so.
Okay, well, for that beast of no nation, I'm trying to. Okay, what do you have for United Africa? What plans do you have for United Africa?
I mean, let me say this, and I'm not saying it just for the sake of rhetoric. I'm a Pan-Africanist. I love Africa. It's part of the reason where my style of jewelry is different from gold and silver. Even though all those things come from Africa, it's cheap jewelry, but it represents my Africanness. And I believe that the moment Nigeria gets it right, Africa will get it right. The entire continent of Africa. In fact, I was agonizing about something in the last 3 days when I saw an African American, a black man, killed on the streets of the U.S. I felt bad about it, but I felt worse that there's no black African nation in the world that can stand up and speak for the black race. And if Nigeria were to be in the right hands with the right kind of leadership, we should have taken up that battle. We should have taken up, we should have become the spokesperson for the dignity of the black man worldwide, because we are the biggest black nation in the world. So the same thing we apply to Africa, but Africa has a lot of problems. We have to get rid of a lot of dictators on the continent of Africa, in places like Cameroon, Togo, Uganda, Congo, Eritrea, all this, Nigeria should be a beacon of hope for not only Black Africans based on Africa, on the continent of Africa, but the diaspora and the Black race as a whole. So I totally would work for an integrated Africa first that will ultimately lead to the unity of the African continent. Because there's no reason why anybody traveling in Africa should be getting a visa. But, Africa has been so balkanized and imbued with terrible puppeteers who call themselves leaders that is not happening. Look at, there's supposed to be an expressway between here and Abidjan. It's about 40 years old. They can't do it. There's not even a way to get to Ghana by road, on time. By now, we should have had a fast train from Abidjan to Johannesburg that would integrate Africa in such a way that Africa would have become a very, very powerful continent or a powerful nation. Yes, but again, this problem cannot be solved with the present crop of leaders on the continent of Africa. Those guys are just puppets, mostly puppets and weaklings.
So if you are the president, will solar energy be a priority?
What will be my priority?
Will solar energy be a priority?
Oh, not solar energy alone. This mix of power and energy sources, of which solar will be a priority, of course, because I'm an environmentalist and I'm very conscious of the environment and ensuring that whatever we use to generate power or energy is sustainable. I was the candidate in 2019 that said that oil is no longer a viable product for any economy. And now look at what oil is doing to our economy. Whereas even solar power or solar energy could have become even something that could be generating foreign revenue for us. Because look, if I'm president of Nigeria, I will create solar farms in the north. I will create, hydroelectric power supply in the south that is available. I will create several sources of
Is that
energy. Yes, and that's NEPA.
NEPA.
The problem has changed name, as they call it, like PHCN. So, and that's this is part of it. If we don't resolve, the energy problem in Nigeria, power as we call it, we have not even started at all. Can you imagine in 2020 that you still have to deal with power failure in Nigeria? And where I live in Abuja, we have not had electricity in 3 days because there was a small wind the other day, and it didn't even last for 30 minutes. But I was told that whenever that happens, PHCN or discos, we have to go and spread the cable so that they will dry. So it takes 3 days for the cables to dry before they can turn them on again. I heard this is a joke. It's a regular joke in Nigeria. So they're still drying the cable in my area, so we haven't had light for 3 days.
I'm trying to read some of the questions out. Your people, the group has SHO been in contact? The person has disappeared. Do you think Nigeria may split? Another question from the comment section.
Look, I will not deceive myself by any stretch that if I've ever been afraid or worried about the unity of Nigeria, the so-called unity, I think there's a time that really, really, I think that there's a huge possibility that Nigeria could be destroyed. A split is not the way to put it. They're pushing Nigeria to. It's like they are determined to push Nigeria over the cliff, And in that case, if Nigeria is pushed over the cliff, a split is not what you get, because already there are cleavages already that's showing, there are cracks. A total implosion or explosion will be the outcome. It won't be a split. If it was going to be a split, maybe I won't worry too much about it. But I will admit in my own inner mind that yes, I'm genuinely worried about the direction Nigeria is being pushed. And I'll say, I use the word advisedly, that they're pushing us in that direction, they're pushing this country in the direction of.
For those of us okay, it's a question from the comment section. Oh shit. For those of us in diaspora, somebody is saying that 8 years is not enough to change Nigeria. When you become president, after your time in office, how will you maintain your achievements?
How long does it take to get a degree? 4 years, right? How long does it take to grow corn? 6 months. Even these days, with better technology in the agri sector, you can do it in 2 months. How long does it take to construct highways? Probably, if you know what you're doing, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, with the right kind of technology, with no corruption, you can do it in 6 months, 1 year maximum. How long will it take for us to construct a highway? I mean, a high-speed rail from Lagos to Port Harcourt, for example. You can do it in 2-3 years. And if I have 8 years, that means when I'm done, Nigeria would have been blanketed with high-speed rail, the same way they did in Ethiopia, right? Yeah. From Djibouti to Ethiopia. The same way the Chinese did it from their capital to Xinghu. This is not rocket science. People make you believe that so many things are impossible. I spent 20 years in the US before I came back in 2018.
Sorry. Yeah.
I've also been informed by my team here that this was ours. Because apparently we have a call tonight.
Yeah.
So let's work towards wrapping up, and we can do this again.
I've
totally enjoyed this, by the way.
Yeah.
I've totally enjoyed this, and I'll be glad to come back again. Yeah. So let's work towards wrapping up. Yes.
Yeah. So the last question was someone asked in the comment section that what are your views about this Boroboro and loans that federal government they've been involved in? Somebody asked her that one of your fans, he asked and said that what are your views about this money that government is just borrowing and loans, and that's just ongoing?
They have borrowed Nigeria back to the Stone Age, and that is what happens when you have a government that is unproductive. So they just are out there borrowing money from loan sharks. And what are loan sharks, or who are loan sharks? There are a lot of financial institutions. Some of them you may not even know. Might be Nigerians who put up these frauds, who have stolen Nigeria's money, and they are borrowing it back to us at interest rates that nobody's discussing with you, but we will never be able to pay back, even in my lifetime and your lifetime. And they are not borrowing for production, they are borrowing for consumption. They are destroying any ability to be productive. So the borrowing that you're saying is not only happening at the federal level, it's happening at state levels. It's happening at every level. Somebody just told me the other day that even local government people in Lagos are borrowing money from banks, money that they can never pay back. So we must see the borrowing as an attack on our dignity and on our future, and it should be part of the struggle we fight now, because we cannot rely on the National Assembly to stop it. They are part and parcel of the scam, the borrowing scam. And nobody's revealing the conditionalities or the conditions attached to these loans to us. Maybe one day you and I will just end up and find out that they've sold this country in the name of borrowing. Who knows? And you just find out they changed the name from Nigeria to Longeria. That is, maybe one day China will own part of Nigeria, France will own part of Nigeria, and it'll be sad. So yes, the borrowing they are doing, I want to say clearly, is a crime against our own humanity, and we must fight it as such.
Okay.
It's an economic crime.
Presido is tired and he's really tried. He's been on air for like.
I'm not as tired as much as I also have to attend to a lot of things. We are global citizens. Like the US right now needs our attention because maybe it's like 5 p.m. And we do a lot of work, regardless of what they try to do to muzzle our movement. A lot of work is going on, and let me use this opportunity to ask people to follow us on Revolution Now NG. We have Twitter accounts. You can also follow me on Instagram. If you have not followed, follow me on Twitter. My Twitter account is Yele Sowore, and this my Instagram page is Yele Show. YELE.
Following you, President, I'm following you. I'm not following you.
I'll follow you today now. You don't tell where I'm going to follow you now. So, yeah. But we'll keep people updated. And honestly, this is very important. We need to be hard on ourselves, young people. We are let down. We are letting ourselves down. And by extension, we are letting down a generation that is coming after us. It's very sad. And we must guide our loans, stand up, and bond together. I don't have a problem with you guys who follow celebrities, but if you follow a celebrity and you know that it's leading you into a blind alley, follow people with no road now.
Yeah.
Or create a way for yourself. Stop following people who are dumb, whose only claim to fame is the clothes they are wearing, or the shoes they are wearing, or the cars that they are displaying. You should understand, when you buy a car, the day you drive it out of the car mats, the value starts reducing. You can't live your life based on what doesn't belong to you.
True.
Yeah, you should live your life based on something concrete, substantial. We must live for substance. And I appeal to young people. I shouldn't be appealing to you. Sometimes I feel like I should be cussing you guys out. And I'm serious, but I shouldn't. I'm not doing that. I don't want to do victim blaming. Sometimes we should be cussing ourselves out that we're not doing anything about our situation, that we just merry-go-round. And some of us allow ourselves to be borrowed or recruited to stand in the way of our own freedom by way of collecting the 5,000 naira to go and do Twitter trolls. We have to wake up. We have to wake up. And if this pandemic did anything for us, it's to tell you that religion cannot save you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't. And government you don't even have a government. What's left of you is
I can't see your face anymore.
Yeah?
I couldn't see your face anymore. Just a voice.
Yeah. Yes, my voice is So anyways, it's very important that we understand this, and I'm willing to work with serious young people And those who are not serious, I'm also willing to work with you to get you serious. Because
But
we started fighting.
Presido, I go to Owambe.
Owambe.
Is anything wrong with that? Owambe. I go to Owambe sometimes. You know,
what you do is Owambe. If what you do is Owambe, there's something wrong with it.
Oh, okay.
But,
I thought you were going to say that I'm not serious.
No, but as long as it's not a socio-political distraction, there's nothing wrong with Owambe. Me too. Even the other day I was doing better now. Because I do not have any problem with creativity, and I see I'm a very artsy person too. I love music, and I'm a big fella fan, and I love music, but I think that music should not be about sex and big booty and cars and jewelries alone. It should have a component of consciousness. And I'll leave it here with you that when I came out of prison, I tried to reach out to Naira Marley. I thought that he could use his musical power to do liberation, art. But I discovered that just like every other person that have come before him, there's something lacking. I saw that consciousness is lacking, and I know that most of his fans will not like this. But I really thought that, he had everything in place that could have made him become a beacon of liberation for young people, because they were following him, and they follow him because they believe in him. But if he keeps doing what doesn't make sense, just like there used to be a Bados nation, the Malian nation would disappear too on the altar of fluff and lack of consciousness. People who are following him love him genuinely, but they can't continue to follow anybody to a blind alley, So we need that moment where everybody comes together, celebrities, everybody will get the consciousness. Even churches must enter into the era of liberation theology, because it wasn't until when African Americans got that they changed their own fortune. So having said that, let me thank you, Azuka, for all the
One last question. One last question. Are you a romantic?
If I'm a romantic?
Yes. Are you a romantic?
Oh my goodness. That should be a topic for another symposium discussion in the future.
Oh my God. I knew you were not going to answer that question. I just said,
because there won't be enough time before there won't be enough time to discuss that. Yeah. But
all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Revolution Now.
Coming. Yeah. We'll talk later. Thank you so much for coming on our live IG interview. I'm just trying to.
It's been a pleasure. And like I said, let's make this happen again. Anytime.
Yeah.
We can always make it happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Rita, I see you. Kesola, I see you. And TMC, Wood Majesty, Lolo, I see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And thank you all. Thank you all these great people.
All the supporters of Presido, because the people want it and say, don't give him some respect. Don't call him Sowore. I mean, when I said that, when I asked myself, Sowore, they said, please put some respect on that name. I have to start apologizing to them.
No problem.
Your president is my very good friend, though. We've known way back.
They didn't know this. They didn't know this. Yeah. So we gave out too much secret today already,
Yeah.
That from way back. Yeah, but that's life.
And thank you for all you did for us at University of Lagos. Thank you for saving my life, because if you didn't come to the hospital or took me there yourself, they probably wouldn't have attended to me. Nigeria Hospital. If you don't have money, put money on ground, nobody attends to you. Yeah. So we hope that
guess what? We did it for you, but now we're ready to do it for the whole country.
By the grace of God. So when you get there, we know that rule of if you don't have money to pay before you're admitted in the hospital has to change.
You just need to go back to Spicer Heat, That's our campaign promises in those days, which has to do with security, power, free education, health, and all of the good things that we promised to do for Nigerians. If we had been elected, had we been elected in 2019, this would have been a different country by now. Trust me, I'm saying that on my own honor. It would have been a fantastic country. We would have started on a great note. There would have been life instead of lifelessness. Great life, including what you like, nightlife. But without security, there can't be nightlife. Yeah.
So I'll go with our university slogan: greatest of the greatest. Greatest acolytes.
Indefatigable acolytes. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much.
The guys here in the room with me are from Ife and all of those are smaller universities. There used to be a song in our days, which is the Yoruba song, I'm Sowore University. Àwọn ọmọ OAU ló kọ́kọ́ yọwọ́, àwọn ọmọ LASU náà tún tẹ̀lé, èrò àrífín wo lèyí. People who speak Yoruba understand that.
I understand, but my Yoruba is not that fluent.
It's how we play out our rivalry in those days. But we're all one. And this is some of the universities that I'm proud of. In fact, today, Azu, University, because they've kept the tradition of student activism intact.
Wow.
Unilag is a disgrace these days. Unilag has some of the weakest, student activists in recent times. And it's my school, so I'm free to run them down as much as I want. They need to wake up in that place. I mean, look at Femi Adeyeye. He's been expelled for almost 3 years. Unilag, I don't know when they will start making Unilag students wear uniform.
Why?
It's so sad.
Wear uniform?
I heard they wear uniform in the law school already now.
But that's law school.
It tells you the level of control. But you know what we wear when we are doing like now. You dare not come near the student union, student rights. We used to run the student union government. We used to call ourselves student union government.
We didn't even know our VC. We didn't know our VC. It was you that we knew that in school.
Never. You knew the student union president. We used to pay school our student union fees, and we protected and covered the campus from wall to wall, including private security for students. That was how we were able to fight and defeat the court guys nowadays.
Let's go. Thank you so much.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. Good night, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Victoria Asata.